Hello everybody, it is Joe Granato. Welcome to the brand new NESmaker 4.1.0 tutorials. These specific tutorials are going to show off how to start creating with the base modules the easy way. What we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to create a game that's comparable to that game that you might have played in the arcade with the little yellow guy that chomps on pellets and chases ghosts. Hopefully that conjures the right image in your head. That's the style that we're going for. I'm going to open up my NESmaker 4.1.0 folder and open up a new project. We are going to slam through these tutorials, so bear with me if I move fast. We're going to break it down in future tutorials, but we're going to show how easy it is to get started with this new version. So first of all, I need to make a new project. I'm going to File, New. If you don't want to use menus, you have this great new toolbar. So new project, and I'm going to create blank tile sets. So I'm going to create a new folder for new graphics, and I'm going to call it Maze Game. And I'm going to use as a starting module base.maze. Now, understand that these base tutorials, these modules are very light. They're meant to be starting points. They're meant to be teaching tools. This is not the only way to make this style of game. It's not even the best way to make this style of game. This is a bunch of different genres that use the same root code structure, and that's why we've put them all together to show you how quick we can start snapping things together. So we hope that this list grows and grows and grows, and we're going to keep making new ones, and you're going to keep making new ones, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to show you all of that over the next couple weeks. So let's make a new maze game using the base maze module. Hit OK, and what that really did was, the only thing it did was it loaded a bunch of scripts. So we're not going to even look at the scripts. We're not going to talk about scripts for the entire tutorial other than this right here. We're just going to show these scripts right here. Okay, so these scripts are what loads with that particular module. I'm going to close it. We want to load up graphics. Fortunately, we've already created some for you, so you don't have to actually do the work of creating them yourself. To load in the graphics, I'm going to go to Project Settings, and I'm going to go to Tile Sets. And you notice we have this nice new import and export. What we did was we created these games, hit the export button, and then save those tile sets so that you could now hit the import button, and it gives you a warning that it's going to overwrite all the tile sets that are in use. Yes, we want to do that. So where is this tile set? If I navigate to my NESmaker 4.1.0 folder, and I go to Tutorial Assets, and I go to Tutorials 4.1.0, I can find the maze game, and here's a bunch of things that we're going to use. The first one being tile sets. I'm going to double click on tile sets. They're loaded. It was that quick. So I'm going to close this, and to check it, just to make sure, I'm going to go to my pixel editor, go to open. And what you're going to see is you have graphics loaded. Notice this is the folder that I made, the maze game. It's in Graphic Assets Maze Game. It automatically made that when I started the project. When I just imported it, imported all these tile sets to the right places. Start windscreen graphics, game object graphics, tile set graphics, etc. Awesome, amazing. Now let's go ahead and load in all of the stuff to make this game, starting with the palettes. So I'm going to go to my palettes. And I'm going to open all palettes. I'm going to right click on all palettes, import maze palettes. Open. And we only made one palette. So I'm also going to go to monster palettes and right click on monster palettes, import object palettes. And now I'm going to go into assets, which is in graphics banks, graphics bank 1. And there's my assets. I'm going to right click, import assets. Now this is huge. I'm going to import maze assets, and what I just did was I imported all the assets that we're going to use to create this game, and when I loaded the module, it already loaded my references for what tiles should do what. You can see tile 0 is a null tile, tile 1 is solid, tile 2 is a collectible, and they're named that way in my project labels. I've named them walkable, solid, collectible, collect score, monster barrier, etc., etc. So that came in with the module. That's the kind of data that the module itself saves. Now I've just loaded in the assets with one click, and I have all these at my disposal. Okay, so now that I've got those, let me go ahead and load in all of the monsters. I'm going to go to my monster graphics bank, graphics bank 0, monsters. I'm going to right click on monsters. I'm sorry, not right click. I'm going to go to the monster menu, import all monsters. And I'm going to click Maze Monsters, Open that up, and you'll see I've got my nice little slimes here. And then I'm going to do my game objects. These I have to do sort of one at a time. I'm going to go to my player, game object, import game object. And I've got a folder with game objects. 0 was for my player. I noticed I got 0, 4, and then the rest started at 8. So 0 is player. And that loaded in all of his details, his animations, his speeds, his behaviors, all that stuff. Same thing with the objects. The next one was 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the first pickup. So I'm going to load my power-up monster. Then the next one was 8, which I know is effect 0. Some of these I just know because I've done it a lot. So if you don't know, that's why we kind of put the numbers. So player death object. The next one is a monster death object. And the next one is a player victory object. Victory. All right, and then I'm going to load in my control schemes. I'm going to go to my import editor, my input editor. I'm going, instead of manually doing all this, I can go to input linker, import input scripts, and in my maze game, I can see I've got maze control scheme. And it loaded in my inputs. Now I don't need this last one. This was for testing purposes. I wanted to show you guys something. You don't need this. You can leave it and erase it. I wouldn't use it for anything. All this does is demonstrates that when you press the B button, the score goes up. And we'll test that in a later tutorial. But I'm just going to slam through this right now. So what I've done is in under 10 minutes, I've made a new project. I've loaded in the graphics, the assets, the palettes, the objects, the control scheme. Now I can actually, I have to build a HUD real quick. That's only think work I've got to do right now. This is new, so this is something that you guys have to focus on. I want to use Sprite Zero detection. All of these modules that we're going to look at in this base set that I'm giving you right now for the tutorials use Sprite Zero detection. And we're going to use the same values for all of them by default. So Sprite Zero index is 127. This is what sprite that we're actually going to use. It's the last one in the game object sprite section. H blank, 1. We're just going to use 1 for now. And if we need to change this, we'll change it later. X, we want this Sprite Zero to end up right in this corner right here. And I know those values to be about 246 pixels across and about 30 pixels down, and that's going to put it right at the bottom here. It's still touching where the end of that HUD is going to be. And what's going to happen is, as the game is drawing a screen, this is where it's going to split the screen. So this part will stay a HUD, and this part will be free to roam for scrolling. So we've built that in automatically. Usually this is a lot of thinky work to do. These controls right here will allow you to do a lot of control with that. But right now we're going to leave all of our boxes set up the same way. We're also going to go to our user variables. We notice that I've got a my score variable. It's 0, 1, 2 down. So I'm going to set the score up 0, 1, 2 down, and it's going to be a number, and it's going to have 8 places as far as I can go, and I'm just going to place it wherever I want. And you know what? I want to know what that is, so I'll use element 1 for text, and I'll use the string score, and I'll just place it right on top. No problem. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an emulator. So I'm going to go to my settings, and rather than use our built-in emulator, I'm going to go to desktop, this stuff. This is where my emulator is. I recommend using Messen if you need an emulator. It's a free emulator, and it's really good. Next, I'm going to set up my working folder. I'm going to point to my project. So I'm going to go to desktop, NESmaker 410, game engine data, game. There we go. So now it'll open up in Messen. Now I can go to my overworld, and I've already got all my assets. I can right click, place my player, build a screen. I'm going to hit F5 to erase that, and I'm just putting these around the edge of the room. And their collision detection is already there. Their palette information is already there. So now if I test my game, I should already be in business. I should be able to run. The collision should check. The animation should all be working. And that is me getting up and running with no code, with all my assets, all my graphics in under 10 minutes. There we go. So we got a good start. So let's actually make this into a game that sort of resembles that one that I was talking about. First of all, this is pretty good. I'm going to do a few more things. First of all, I'm going to screen info, and I'm going to tell it I want it to be a single screen game. We're going to explain more why we're going to select this. And because I've said a bunch of things and I don't want to forget what I've selected, I'm going to go to my overworld, and I'm going to click on this screen that I've made, Control C. I'm just going to pick an arbitrary screen down here and hit Control V. And all I'm doing is I'm saving the screen so it's easy for me to make changes to this one, but I've got sort of a blank one that I can copy and paste into new screens. All right, so now let me make a quick, maze game type screen. And it's not really a maze. I don't know what you would call this style game, but, where you're collecting the things and running around and whatever. And, I don't know, something like this. Whatever. And what I'll do is I'll put a few collectible objects in there as well. Like that. All right, so now I will export and test my game. And I want to make sure that my collectibles work and that all the solid objects are blocking me in and all that stuff. It's always good to sort of check. And there we go. I am moving around and collectible, and notice my score goes up and the collectibles go away. Very cool stuff. All right, let's add some monsters. So I'm going to go to my monsters because I did import my monsters, but I do have to make a monster group out of these guys. I'm going to load them all in, and really it's simple. I made duplicates of a monster. They all behave exactly the same way, except they move a little bit faster successively. So these monsters, like the red one's the slowest and the white one's the fastest, I think. So now I've got a monster group called Slimes. And if I go back to my room, I can go to my screen info, day monsters, and say, yep, I want Slimes. And what palette do I want that room to use? That one right there, that second palette. Okay. And don't worry, I know the player changes. It automatically updates, and we have to fix that so that it stays the player palette. It will in the game. Don't worry about that. Now I'm going to put my monsters in the room. I'm going to right click. I'm going to place just a bunch of monster ones. I'm going to place 3 monster ones. So monster 2 is going to be monster 1, and monster 3 is going to be monster 1. So 3 slow moving monsters. And let's just make sure that they hurt me. So I can collect my stuff, I run into them, and I die, and the game restarts. Perfect. So I've already got monsters loaded in. I got pickups. Let's load in something a little bit different. Let's make a new monster group, because these games are even more fun when you can go after the monsters, right? So, excuse me. I'm going to use this power-up object as my 4th object. So I'm going to I'm going to right click, and for my 4th monster, instead of using one of these, I'm going to use my, where is it? Don't I have a power up? Power up, that one. Okay, I'm going to use this power up. And when I get that power up, I'm going to be able to go after the monsters for a short amount of time. And again, when we look deeper into how to make this style game, I'll show you exactly how I did it for this particular module. There's a lot of ways to do all these things. So let's make sure that that works. So now if I run into the monster, he gets me. Okay, when I run into this, everything changes. Oh, they're blue now, and now I can get them, and they get hurt. And then my flashing starts to slow down, and then they sort of come back, and when I run into them, I die. Okay, so that works. Now, the last couple things we need to do, we need to add some music and stuff, but also I want to add more screens. So what I'll do is I could copy and paste this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this blank one, Control C, and paste it right here. Oops. Sometimes this is a little bit particular. You got to sort of hang on the Control C and the Control V, but it does work. So now I can build a second screen, and I'm going to make this, decidedly different. In fact, I'll make it so that I know it's the second screen. I'll do one of those clever Easter egg things. It's the second screen. Okay, so put a bunch in there. Put a bunch down here. And then I didn't set up monsters in that copied screen, so I'm gonna have to set those up again. I'm gonna set up slimes, use the slime palette, put in monster here, monster here, monster here maybe. I don't need to set my player, but I am going to need to remember the input place. And I'll set my, if I want it, my power up here. Now this is where I want my character to enter. Let's say I want him to enter right here in the Z. I can look up here and I can see it's 11.5. So right up here. So I put my mouse there, 11.5. Cool. I can go to screen info and say that I want to warp in at 11.5. And now I'm going to say that when I collect all these, where am I going to warp to? If I look at my map, here's where I am on the map, 0, 0, 1, 0. So I'm going to, if I collect all those, where am I going to warp to? So where's my warp out is 1, 0 on the map screen. So now let's try and beat this first level. Here I go. All right. Getting the coins and staying away from slimes and hurrah. And then I go to the next level and I start in that corner. So that's awesome. Now I haven't set where to go from this screen. So if I collect all of them, this screen, it's going to go to 0, 0 and weird things are going to happen and yeah, all that stuff. So we're going to get to a win screen in a second here, but I just wanted to kill the monster. So lastly, let's add some sound effects and some music to this thing. I'm going to open up sound. I'm going to right click on sound here. I'm going to import FamiTracker text. And if you go to that folder with the tutorials, you should see a tutorial music file. I'm going to import that, and that's going to give me a couple of songs and a bunch of sound effects. Now, what I've done is, if I go to sound effects, you can see I've already set up sound effects for this module. I've already defined them. So in the code, it looks for these things. If these things were missing, the code would give me an error, but fortunately it doesn't. So I don't think I used a lot of these, but I know that I used sound hurt, which I used sound effect ouch for. I used get, I used the sound of the coin. Splat was when I killed the monster. I used thud. Victory, I don't think it uses card. It doesn't use enter, text box, power up. It doesn't. Power up it does, and power down it does. So it uses these. It was using these sound effects before, but it was playing the empty sound effect. Now, if I loaded up new sounds and new sound effects for this, it would still look for these same things, but it would reference these sounds, and I'd have those sounds as choices. So if you loaded up one that was like, SFX shoot or something, right? Then that would be a choice that I have over here, and I could change my power up to a custom sound effect that you had loaded in. So anyway, now I've got music. Oops, sorry. I've got a song. Does not like to actually look at the sounds. That's okay. We're not going to use that anyway. We're going to use FamiTracker to create music. So that's still an in progress thing. However, when I test the game, it's going to play the first song by default. I don't want it to play the maze intro. I want it to play the main theme. So on the screens that I have, I'm going to change the song here. I'm going to go to screen info, and where it says song maze intro, I'm going to change it to song main theme. And I'm going to do that for all my current screens, screen info. I'm going to change it to main theme, hit OK. And now I'm going to have music and sound effects. Let's test that real quick, and then I'm going to make a quick start and win screen, just using the NESmaker logo for the start screen, and then you win as the win screen. Here we go. So now I got music, sound effects. Awesome. Seems to be working. I think the sound effect stops when, yep, and now I'm in 2. So perfect. Now I could add a sound effect when you actually complete a stage or add a new song or something like that. For right now, I just made it stop to make it easy. This key is the win script. So I'll tell you what, let's go to overworld. Let's copy this screen here, paste it here, Control C, Control V. Sometimes it's stubborn. Control C, Control V. There it is. And in this screen, I just want my character to show up right here. come in right here and have to go right here. I don't know, something like that. So I want this to be right here. I want my character to show up again. I'm looking here, X and Y at 8:12. So I'm going to go to screen info. He's going to show up, warp in at 8:12. And this screen is 0, 1, 2. I can see it right there. So when I warp out of this screen, I'm going to warp to 2, 0. Now, right now, it's going to try to go to the win screen, and the win screen doesn't have anything on it, so it's just going to go to a black screen and be stuck there and be playing a variation of the main theme, which is the intro song. But that's what I expect, so let's check and make sure that that works. Okay, get the score. Not even worried about the slimes right now. Just want to get... Okay, be stubborn. There we go. So now I'm in the second screen. Oh no, I died. Wow, okay. I died on my practice level. There we go. And it won't kill you once you've hit that victory level. It's actually creating a separate object, believe it or not. So it doesn't interact with the player at all. And now it'll take me to my win screen, and then it'll take me to win. And you know what? I forgot to set the music to that third screen. So I'm going to do that now. Let me set the music. I'm going to set the music. Oops, to main theme. Very, very lastly, let's do a start screen and end screen. So I can go to special screens, and because I've imported the tile sets, I already have my graphics loaded in. So let me load my special screen by importing a name table. Now I don't have that loaded here, but I did maintain my beta assets, and I have the start screen files, NESmaker start screen. There's my NESmaker name file made in Shiru's NES screen tool. There we go. And now I could change the colors, and honestly, I don't remember what these are supposed to be. So light gray, maybe that. Yeah, maybe this is light gray. Maybe, sure, why not? This is light gray. Yeah, that looks good. This one I know is bright yellow. I remember always looking for that and never finding it. So let's just say that's that. I could write Maze Game down here, and I want to make sure that I'm playing the intro music right there. Perfect. So now let me go to win screen, and I have nothing for win screen. So let me just, put in win. Oops. Win. And I believe I already have a control. So if I press the start screen on the win screen, it should go back. Let's check that real quick. So if I go to input editor, if I look, if I'm in the win screen and I press the start button, it's a simple reset. And if I'm on the start screen and I press start, it starts the game. So now the only thing I have to do is turn on my start screen. So I'm going to go to game information, project information, I should say. And instead of skipping start screen, I'm going to not skip the start screen. So now I'll play my game. And I'm in the game. And now I could make levels until my heart's content and have a really decent clone of that game in the arcades that had the little yellow guy that ate pellets and chased ghosts. You know who I'm talking about, right? Awesome. And now I'll go to my win screen. And I win. And if I press start, it'll restart the game. Bam. So in about 20 minutes, we were able to construct that whole game without even coming close to looking at a single piece of code, and had a lot of versatility as far as what I could even do within that. Now, in the intermediate tutorials, we're going to look at exactly how we constructed all of this from the base engine and then exported it to get what you see in front of you right now. But this has been the first tutorial in the series of how to use 4.1.0 and actually start creating right away. So we hope you guys like this easy mode tutorial. We hope you plow through the easy mode tutorials, make a bunch of fun stuff, and then start on the intermediate tutorials to start seeing your game come to life.